All right, so happy Easter. So good to see everybody. So many people in the place. Hey, what's up? We're going to move forward in our service. A few spiritual principles to get us anchored this morning as we prepare for the message. I like to use what Ernest Holmes calls what we believe. We just call them spiritual principles. We've also added some language to the principles, some everyday kind of jargon to help us better understand what Ernest Holmes is saying. Sometimes his words are a little bit airy and fairy, some people say, something like that. So this morning we're working with spiritual principles, and you can find these principles online if you do a search for Ernest Holmes and what we believe. It's also in several of his books that he's written. So spiritual principle number 1 reads, we believe in God, the living spirit, almighty one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. We believe this one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. Spiritual principle number 2, we believe in the individualization of the spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one spirit. Spiritual principle number 8, we believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. In other words, we believe that nothing happens to me. It either happens by me, through me, or as me. And finally, spiritual principle number 7, we believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. And our theme for the year, as I've said now on several Sundays, is calling us to act. It's calling on us to do something. Our theme, a day at a time, oneness. Calling on us to do something, but not just any old thing. It's calling on us, or our theme for the month of April, listening, is calling us to act. And its call of action to us is to stop and to move into the quietness, to listen. Not only is it calling us to stop and to move into quietness, it also offers us the opportunity to be still and to be cool. To be still and to be cool. To chill, to be still, to be cool. Listening, its grand invitation to us is to consider that things are not always what they seem to be. In addition to that, it's also calling us to consider that we are more than we think that we are. Things are not always what they seem to be, and you and I are more than we think that we are. This, when we come to this great realization that things are not always what they seem to be, and that you and I are more than we ever could imagine ourselves to be, when we come to this realization, we begin to, one by one, break down the barriers of separation. We begin to, one by one, break down the things that stand between us and God. Break down anything and everything that is standing between us and truth. Break down anything and everything, the barriers to stand between us and peace. And certainly it breaks down the barrier between anything that stands between you and me. Listening. It's great power when we start to realize it. It breaks down barriers. So this listening then that I'm talking about, it's not just a simple kind of listening. As I said last Sunday, it is a sacred kind of listening, a listening that we might consider heavenly. The act of listening is a heavenly kind of act that we are engaging in and involved in. And so listening then is not to be taken lightly. It's not to be taken lightly. It's, it's not just something that you do so you can, quieten down somebody or tell, I got it. It's not that. Or it's not just listening so we can just simply kind of understand something so that we can repeat something, but we might not really mean the something. Listening helps us to take it in so that when we say something, we mean it. We mean it. So it's not to be entered into lightly. When you enter into this sacred kind of listening, this sacred kind of act, you've got to be ready for what comes next. You got to be ready for what comes next. In A Course in Miracles, in lesson 106 in the workbook for students, it states, if you will listen with an open mind that has not told you what salvation is, then you will hear the mighty voice of truth, quiet in power, strong in stillness, and completely certain of its message. That which listening has to offer us, the message, it's certain, it's clear, it's to be acted on and acted upon. So let me just say it like this. For those of us who have ears to hear, listening is everything. Listening is everything. It's everything to the one who wants to stay close to what is sacred. Listening is everything to the one who really wants to change their life. Listening is everything to the one who desires to experience love and to love. Listening is everything to the one who is desiring to experience peace. Listening is everything to the one who wants to move into having deeper relationships with the divine power and presence within themselves so that they can have a relationship with the divine power and presence of God in others. Listening is everything because it tears down the barriers that stand between you and stand between me. It's everything. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't even have the words to try to describe to you what I'm wanting to tell you, to convey to you this morning about just how important listening is. There's almost no words to describe it. The only thing that can get you close to what I'm trying to express to you today is your experience of it. It is the experience itself that will do its justification. My words are nothing in comparison to it. My desire is for you in some way to increase your sacred practice of listening. Begin to tune in ways you haven't even begun to imagine that you could tune in. Just begin to imagine what listening can do for you, how it can change your life. It's everything. It's everything. We listen so that we don't go numb. We listen so we don't succumb to the moment. Listening is our preparation. Listening prepares us to move into the moment and not out of the moment. Listening prepares us to move into life, to move into what is present, and not to move away from it, not to move out of it. Listening prepares us to move into love. Listening prepares us to move into the moment and not out of the moment. I want to read a little bit this morning from Howard Thurman and again, his book, Meditations of the Heart. And today I'm reading from page 24, and the title of this reading is Be Still and Cool in the Mind. He says, in order that we benefit from what being still and being cool has to offer, we have to understand that it comes from our habitual use, our habitual desire to move into quietness, where we find that which is within us, this quietness, this stillness, that no matter what's going on around us, it resides within us. He says it is a central stillness of spirit that is so vital that it can tame the wildness out of almost any tempest, however raging it may be. Of course, the individual must desire this to happen. Sometimes there are ragings of anxiety, of hurts that we do not want to see disappear. They provide excellent opportunities to bolster up our own ego or our own sense of faltering security. This fact must not blind us to the great power that there is in what is here referred to as the central stillness. For it is in the quiet which invades us and which becomes a characteristic of our total respiration that we are most acutely aware of the operation of the presence of God. He says, here is the, quote, mercy seat of God, before which all things are stripped to their true essence and their real character revealed. The plans and purposes of our times, the primary and secondary levels of our desiring, the fateful issues of our loves and hates, the ground of our own faith are established and confirmed. He says there's a wonderful lift to the spirit in knowing that the way is always channeled so that it may have free access to the mind and the cleansing power of God. And this quote by George Fox, he ends with, be still and cool in thine own mind and spirit from thy own thoughts, and then you will feel the presence of God. Turn in your mind to that which is infinite and eternal, which all of life comes from. Tell your neighbor, be still and be cool. Tell another neighbor, be still and be cool. Listening, it's vital. He says it can tame the wildness out of almost any tempest, however raging it may be. Be still and be cool. So on this Easter, this resurrection day, the thing is that for Jesus, resurrection happened way before he was resurrected. So many of us at this point, when we think about Easter, for some we get to the rolling away of the stone, or we might backtrack and we are caught up in the story where Jesus is being led down, to be put upon the cross and all of this. And that is dramatic. But there's another story to tell that is perhaps just as dramatic, that has a lot for us to delve into. And so in the Easter story, at some point we find that Jesus is going into the garden. after the Last Supper, before he's betrayed by Judas, arrested, and then taken to be crucified. He goes into the garden. So the Bible says that he goes into the garden to pray. He takes his boys with him, and they go into the garden to pray. Well, I think he didn't just go into the garden to pray. I think he was in the garden yelling, screaming, cussing. I'm sure he was cussing. I'm sure he was cussing up in that garden. I'm sure of it. But he didn't just go to the garden to pray. He went to the garden to listen. He went to the garden to listen. The Bible says that when he went into the garden, his friends, his boys, his disciples, his intimate and inner circle was with him. And then at some point in time, he continued on and they stayed behind to pray. So right there alone, listening, it tells us something about listening. At some point in time, you got to be willing to go at it alone. You got to be willing to go at it alone. It was him walking away from his humanity into his divinity. The space that he put in between him and the ones he didn't leave him behind. He just kept on walking, but some distance. And so that he could begin to examine himself, to go greater and greater into the depths of himself, so that he could enter into the central stillness, as Dr. Howard Thurman reminds us, into this vital space, because he's used to his prayers being answered. But he knows now that his prayer is not going to be answered. He already knows this. So he enters in to the depths of himself because he knows that his prayer is not going to be answered. And it is there, and in his entering in, he asks, or his prayer went something like this: is there another way? Is there another way? Does it have to go down like this? Can we do something else? Can we put it off? Can we go to sleep? Can we do it tomorrow? I don't know. Is there another way? Must I? This is for us, or perhaps today what we're saying is, must I? Must I give up my desire to manipulate? Is there another way? This is the prayer. Must I? Must I give up my desire to manipulate? Must I give up my desire to know everything before the end? Is there another way? Can you tell me what I need to know before I move into action? Is there another way? Can you tell me how this is going to end before I open my heart, before I start loving, before I start forgiving, before? Is there another way? I mean, must I give up on always trying to protect myself? Must I endure this? Is there another way? And so, finally, Jesus gets to a point as the story is written that he says, if it must be, let it be. But before he got to that point, the Bible says that he prayed. He prayed 3 times. He prayed. He went over to his friends, his boys. The story says they were asleep. So he was like, oh, Lord. Trouble in my heart. This is about to go down. But it wasn't just that he went back and saw them sleeping. When he saw them sleeping, he realized that he was counting on them to be there with him. But in his great discovery, what he found out was that he was not alone. Everything ain't always what it seems. So he goes back, he prays again, he come back, and now his mind is starting to trip, saying they betrayed me. They supposed to have been praying and they doing whatever. But we remember that everything is not always what it seems. The only way somebody can betray you is if you believe in betrayal. Everything ain't always what it seems. And so finally, he prays and he listens, he prays and he listens. And then finally he gets to a point where he's no longer just there to listen. He moves into the act of listening. Now listening is becoming a way of life for him. Now listening is beginning to prepare him to move into the moment and not out of the moment. Listening is our preparation. And the moment that, as the story reads, the moment that Jesus moved into listening, the moment he said, nevertheless, if it be thy will, in that moment, the Bible says that an angel ascended, that something came upon him. But let us declare that it was something within him that began to express in him, that he began to become aware that he is way more than he ever thought himself to be, that there's way more in him and way more that's seeking to be expressed in him in that moment than meets the eye. The crux of the story is that there's way more in you and way more in me than meets the eye, that you are way more. There's more seeking to be expressed in you. There's more seeking to be expressed as you than you even know. Perhaps than you will ever know. Listening. Be still and be cool. It's our preparation. It's how we prepare to move into the moment and not away from the moment. It's our preparation to move into love and not to move out of love. It's our preparation to move into understanding what's seeking to be expressed in us, what's desiring to be expressed as us in the moment. Because if we move out of the moment, we'll never come to know who and what we really and truly are. There'll never be a resurrection. In other words, that's how important listening is. It's everything. It's everything. Practitioners, would you join me as we prepare ourselves to move into a moment of listening? For we know that before we can even pray, that before a prayer can even be uttered, that first we must engage in the act of listening. First, we must be willing. We must have a desire within us to scream out, glory, glory. A desire within us to want to experience goodness. A desire to be liberated. Liberation isn't coming to knock on your door. You and I, we must desire it. We must cause it in our life. Glory and goodness is not going to knock on the door. We must desire it more than anything. And let our desire be stirred up in our moments of listening, our moments of listening, our moments of being cool, our moments of being still, our moments of being cool. When we find ourselves united with the one mind, the one power, and the one presence that is never an absence, everywhere equally present. Wherever I go, there you are. Let us affirm and know today that what we say it, when we say it, that we mean it the moment we say it. So, as I speak my word of truth, I do so for you and I do so for myself. Knowing that this desire in me to listen, to be engaged in listening, is ever activated, is rising up in me, is my resurrection, is the thing that's moving me to be and to do, is the thing in me that's causing me to become more and more of who I am. And nevertheless, let me affirm for you as I affirm for myself that this desire in me to listen, that it's moving me in a way where I am prepared to engage and to move into life and to never be moved out of it. Where in the moment I speak my word, something in me is so stirred up that I think a heavenly angel has ascended upon me and is moving my feet and moving my arms and causing me to see. Let this be in us today. So I know for you, as I know for myself, that as I move into my garden, as you move into the garden that is before you, that you're engaged in the act of listening. And in it, I know for you, as I know for myself, that nothing is as it seems. That there's way more going on, not just to what I can see, but there's way more going on and happening inside of me. I am grateful this day to be able to pause and to speak these words and to know them to be the truth. For I know the great power in listening. It is what makes me declare and decree and to sing with Kamara, it's going to be a lovely day. A lovely day. When I wake up in the morning and the sunlight hits my eyes, oh, I declare goodness and glory. I'm so grateful for this and so moved in this moment to just simply gather in the words that have been spoken as we all take them within us, along with the songs that have been sung, the eye glances, the expressions of love through our hearts, through our eyes. We take it all in and take it with us. Well, we just simply release our word into the infinite law of mind that we know is acting upon our word now. Well, we are sure that nothing happens to us, but that everything is happening through us and as us. We let it be, we claim it so, we come together in agreement by saying, and so it is. And so as we journey on throughout our week, let me remind you that listening is everything. It is the only thing that can calm the tempest, no matter how it might be raging. Let us all desire what listening has to offer us. Happy Easter. So it is.